Hi, and welcome to Derek and the District. I'm Derek Slapp, your state representative, representing the 19th District, which covers West Hartford, Avon, and Farmington. And this is the September edition of Derek and the District, and we have two segments for you this month, both really addressing very important issues. The second part, we're going to be dealing with bicycle safety and all the efforts in West Hartford to really make sure that the community is safe for cyclists. But before we get to that, we're going to dive right into an issue that's been in the news lately, and it's really something that affects families all across the state, but also especially here in West Hartford, and that is the opiate epidemic, and really battling addiction and increasing public health in our community. So we have two guests with us. For our first segment here, it's Tyler Booth and Megan Blanchett, and they are both with InterCommunity. You may not have heard of InterCommunity, so we'll tell you what that is, the important work that they do, what's going on in terms of really efforts to fight addiction. So Tyler and Megan, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And Tyler, why don't we start with you? And just a very kind of open-ended but basic question is, what is InterCommunity? What do you guys do?
So InterCommunity is a community health center, and we service about 7,000 people every year. We're based in Hartford and East Hartford, but the folks that come to see us come from West Hartford to Glastonbury to really all over the state. The services that we provide are across the spectrum of healthcare. They can be as intensive as detox for people who have addictions to alcohol or opioids or benzodiazepines. It could also be as routine as traditional outpatient talk therapy or primary care. So we have about 4,000 people who get primary care services from us, and we're what's called a federally qualified health center. What that means is that we'll see people regardless of their ability to pay, really whatever their issue may be.
Right, and you were telling me earlier you have the largest detox unit in the state, is that right?
That's correct.
Wow, so that's, obviously you're playing a very important role.
Yep, it's a 35-bed unit that's located in Hartford. Also on that campus is a 28-day and a 90-day recovery residential programs.
Okay, and I'm going to ask about impact, but probably nobody better to answer that, right, than you, Megan, because you're involved, I think, now in the governance of InterCommunity, but you also have a personal story too, right, related to the important work that they do.
Absolutely. So now I serve on the board of directors at InterCommunity, but I started my journey at InterCommunity as a client. I did not detox there, but I did go to their intensive 28-day program, their intermediate 90-day program, and I also spent 6 months at their halfway house in Glastonbury called Clayton House.
Wow, so you've been through the journey, right?
I have.
And can you talk about the work that they've done related to you, maybe, in terms of the impact it's had on your life?
Absolutely. So when I got to the intensive program, I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going. I was really kind of lost. I was homeless before I went there. So when I got there, they just took me in and completely made me feel safe. My counselors were doing some really intense work with me at the time. After the 28-day program, I decided to go on to the 90-day program because I wanted to do more work. I wanted to continue to heal and to get deeper into my own recovery. And then at the halfway house, they taught me things like how to be a good employee, how to have a bank account, how to cook a meal, things like that, because I spent so many years in active addiction, those things were foreign to me. I didn't know how to really be a human and a functioning member of society. So they taught me all of that, and I'm forever grateful. Yeah, and what brought you that? Was it, one day in particular that brought you to InterCommunity? Was there something where you said, you know what, it's time to make a change? Absolutely. So I was, as I mentioned, I was homeless, and I was living in a tent in the woods in Connecticut, and I just, one day, it had become pretty apparent to me that I didn't really care anymore whether I lived or died, and I was really just kind of hopeless, and I knew that the drugs that I was using, opiates, were going to take my life eventually anyway. So it was kind of either get sober or move closer to the end of my life. Wow. And I believe it was my higher power that brought me that day to a detox facility and then to InterCommunity. It was just a decision that I made because I was at my rock bottom spiritually, physically, emotionally, in every sense of the word.
Wow. Now, people watching this, I think, at this point we know that addiction and the opiates in particular affect communities all across the state, right? That it's not a problem for only certain communities, but it's really everyone. And I wonder what message both of you would have for folks who are watching this, who either themselves personally are struggling, or maybe a family member, a friend, or loved one is struggling. What's the key to get kind of on the path that you got yourself onto?
Well, I think that, for me, I can only speak for myself, but for me, I couldn't get sober until I wanted to get sober. I couldn't do it for members of my family. I couldn't do it for anybody else but myself. So it was until I truly wanted it that I wasn't able to do it. As far as family members go, I always tell people that ask me that if your family member who is in active addiction is angry with you, you're doing the right thing for them. Because enabling is killing people everywhere. Cleaning up messes and giving money when you know what it's for and things like that. That stuff is really kind of hurtful, and it's hard to say no, and it's hard to put your foot down, but it's the best thing you can do for an active addict.
Tough love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think, Tyler?
All I would add to that is the power of the stigma or the discrimination that occurs when we're talking about behavioral health, including substance abuse. For decades, we've always viewed mental health issues as the taboo thing that you whisper about, and it's only been more recently that folks have come out more to explain that they have mental health issues. ESPN right now is doing a whole thing about mental health in the NBA.
Right.
There are just beginning to be people who are going to advocate that says you're not alone, that we all believe that only our family is dealing with this mental health issue or the substance abuse issue, and yet when you look at the statistics, it's every family. And when people actually feel comfortable enough to start talking about it, they realize that it is every family. It's our neighbors. It's every single community. Whether we're talking about New Haven or New Britain or Hartford or Glastonbury or West Hartford, in all of these areas we're seeing deaths. There was 1,038 deaths last year from opioid. 62 of them were from the Hartford and West Hartford areas.
Right.
It is impacting all of us, and we have to just have the courage to put a face behind that addiction and behind that mental health issue, so that people can actually feel comfortable asking for help.
We have had some success in the legislature, addressing this and passing bipartisan legislation this past year. But what can policymakers do, in your opinion, to help?
Well, there's already been, on a national level and also in Connecticut, a movement to try to decrease the prescription of opioids. That's a huge thing. The number of people who get 30-day, 60-day and refills for a minor tooth issue is scary and is absolutely the cause of many addictions. So that's one area. Allowing true parity, which folks continue to struggle with depending on the insurance you have. Behavioral health can be seen as a specialty, and so that's a much higher deductible. Supporting federally qualified health centers such as InterCommunity, so that we have the grant funding and the payment structure to be able to see people regardless of their ability to pay. I think those are three major areas.
Yeah. Anything you want to add in terms of policy? I mean, disposal is one thing that I know we addressed too, but by no means is it a finished initiative. I mean, we can always do more, but what do you think? What would you like to see?
I think, just to piggyback off of what Tyler said, I really believe that it's important that people be able to get treatment regardless of their ability to pay, because I know for myself, I had no ability to pay for anything, and I was very fortunate that, I was on Connecticut state health insurance at the time, and I was able, but it's not always the case. Not everybody qualifies for that. I have family members who, work, and their insurance is not nearly as good as mine was when I got sober, and they are out thousands of dollars for trying to get the same help that I got, and it's just it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at detox level of care and also the 28-day level of care, if you have private insurance, that's unlikely to pay for it. If you have Medicare, that's not going to pay for it. So again, InterCommunity will take those folks in regardless of their ability to pay, but there are fewer detox agencies available in Connecticut now than there were 10 years ago, because even our detox runs at a tremendous deficit every year.
Right, we talked about it being the largest detox in the state, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of beds.
There's 35 beds.
And there's 35 beds. Yeah. That's amazing that there's not more, right? Not more available. Let's talk quickly before time runs out about what's happened in New Haven and the New Haven Green. That's got a lot of attention, and sometimes it takes something like that to shine a light on something that it's more pervasive, right? In terms of the impact on the community. So, what does this the occurrence on the Green? What does that tell us about the problem? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. As far as what the fentanyl has been, people have been overdosing on fentanyl as a result of using K2,
right?
Which I have personally never heard of fentanyl being put in that before, but it's just showing you how wide this is going and how, I mean, I know that in my experience, people will use K2 because they can't use marijuana because they're being drug tested for something. It is a synthetic form of marijuana.
Okay.
And, the fact that it's in there and that people are overdosing from that, that's terrifying to me. I know that fentanyl is present in a lot of, opiates like heroin and things like that, but to have it start to show up in other substances is a really terrifying thing.
So just to unpack a little bit more, so
Sure.
fentanyl, it's a synthetic opioid which is used usually for anesthetics and late-term cancer. It's a significantly much more powerful opioid than almost anything else that you can buy. So what's happening now is that there are dealers who are lacing less powerful drugs with just a drop of fentanyl, which is enough to kill you, but they're putting that into the other drugs to make it more powerful. So our assumption is related to the K2 incident is that that probably wasn't purchased at a gas station, but instead with a dealer who may be looking to try to create some addictions or have people go back to and say, well, I've used K2 from the gas station, that doesn't compare to what this guy sells, and from that then they can do more gateway drugs. And what's really tragic is that there's never been a time when heroin was not a risky drug to do,
Right.
But there was certainly a time where people could be heroin addicts for decades. And now with the lacing of fentanyl, people are dying on their first use. So the opioid epidemic has really always been here, but it's now shifted from being inside the inner cities and in select areas to much more widespread. And due to the fentanyl being put into other drugs, it's now
Right.
nothing safe. So you can, think that you're just smoking up on something that they sell at the gas station, and instead
Right.
it could kill you.
This is going to, I'm sure, what's happened in New Haven will be part of a conversation that we have in the legislature next year about marijuana and legalization. Do you think it should be? Do you think the two are connected, or is it a completely separate thing? In terms of should the state look at this and say, you know what, here is marijuana that was being laced with something, and if we regulated it and taxed it and made it safer, maybe, and there's going to be people on the other side that say, right, we'll make the other argument that more people will use it. It's a gateway drug. So where do you, as experts on this, where do you fall?
So for me, I choose not to use marijuana because I'm a person in recovery and I live a sober life. However, I do believe that if it was regulated and taxed, it is safe for recreational use for people who are not like me. And I don't think that the two are related. I think that you could actually probably cut down on some of this stuff if you were to legalize and regulate the use of marijuana.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I would not want that incident to be what shifts people's focus on. Choosing to legalize the drug is a far more complicated than
Sure.
a single issue. So I think that it could be used possibly on both sides. I think that what I would take away from what happened in New Haven is that any community will have this happen next, and that it's just a much more dangerous world out there for drug use. And so if you have a loved one who you suspecting are using anything, to know that you have resources out there and there's ways to get some help and to take advantage of this.
Sure, and certainly, InterCommunity and the services that you provide are a big part of the solution. Why don't we, before we go, because we are running out of time, can you tell folks how they can get connected with you all if they need help or if they
Sure.
have a loved one who needs help?
So we have immediate access to all of our levels of care. So if someone needs help and they decide that today, they can get that help today. Two ways of doing that are, one, to come into one of our clinics, and the other is to call our main number, which is 860-569-5900. We'll answer that phone, we'll let you know when you can come in, and we'll start you with the help that you need today.
And Megan, I imagine if anybody's wavering, you probably have a very strong and compelling message for them, right? Which is to, it saved your life, it sounds like.
Appreciate that. Yeah, InterCommunity definitely helped me save my life, along with, I work a 12-step program as well. But yeah, I'm super grateful to be here today, and I wouldn't be here without InterCommunity.
We're very happy you're here, and I'm grateful for your time and the message that you're sending to others. So thank you very much, Megan. Thank you, Tyler, as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with bicycle safety in West Hartford. All right, and welcome back. I'm State Representative Derek Slapp. This is Derek and the District, and we have a very special guest for this segment, Scott Franklin. Scott is an expert on biking, and we know that people love to bike in West Hartford. And to be fair, I don't want to essentialize you, and you're just about bikes, but you've really done a lot for the community, right? With the Miracle League, with baseball, Little League, and all the different efforts you've been in to really kind of strengthen our community.
Yeah, and much of it has been dealing with children.
Right.
But with the bicycle community, it's really dealing with everybody. You can ride a bike from age 4 to age 94.
That's right. And so we're taping this just a couple days before a huge bike event in West Hartford. So it'll be too late to kind of promote it. But that said, why don't you tell everyone who's listening about it, what the genesis of it, and why you think it's so important to our community?
Sure. Well, we've been trying to raise awareness of cycling in West Hartford. For all ages, not just people with spandex. And there's an event that has been going on for many years in New York City called Summer Streets. And in Summer Streets, in Manhattan, they closed down a 5-mile route on, I think it's 5th Avenue, to vehicles, and opened up exclusively to walkers, bicycles, you name it, non-motorized vehicles. And it's incredibly successful. So one of our members of our organization, Ethan Frankel, has been going down there, and he said, we can do this in West Hartford. He came to me at the meeting, and I said, do you want to chair this?
Right.
And he said, I've never chaired anything in my life. I said, well, this will be your first. And he's taken it with a gentleman named Ed Powlick, and they've made it happen.
Right. And people love this. You mentioned New York City. New York has the High Line now, too, right? It's become this major tourist attraction. And the premise is kind of the same. That people don't want to have to worry about traffic, and they want to be able to exercise and bike and walk, in safety.
Free of motorcycles and trucks and cabs and cars, yes.
Right. So for people who care about cycling in West Hartford, what are some of the exciting things going on? I mean, I think people could drive around and they'll notice, it seems like there's stuff happening, but there really is.
There is, and the culture in town has changed a lot over the past couple of years. We have a new town manager, Matthew Hart, who was a town manager in the Stores, Connecticut area, and where they have multimodal transportation. And he believes in cycling, he believes in walkability and bikeability. And so now what's been happening is every time the town is going to mill or pave a road, they'll come to the Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission and see what they can do to implement bicycle amenities.
Right.
Signage, sharrows, which are the bicycle icon with the arrows in front, or bike lanes. And there's just been some incredible movement in town. We're working on one now on Asylum Avenue. There was one that was just implemented on the corner of Troutbrook Drive and Boulevard. They're doing some work on Ridgewood, all over town. So you'll see more of those. You'll see more bicycle parking areas. We run a program called Cycling Without Age, which is we bought a rickshaw that we take people from nursing homes around town in. And I'll tell you, it's an amazing program. We got the idea through a woman who was here for a couple of years from Copenhagen.
Okay.
And this concept is very big in Denmark. Her name was Lena Bruin, and she lived here because her husband had been transferred to work at Lego Systems.
Okay.
She was looking for something to do, so she contacted me and she said, I've got this idea, kind of like Ethan Frankel.
Right.
And she said, I really think we can do this. I said, do you want to do it? And she said, I don't know anything about American politics or fundraising or anything like that. I said, yeah, but you know about the program.
Right.
And she said, I'd love to do it. And she did a remarkable job. Yeah. So we bought a rickshaw. It cost us about $10,000 or $12,000.
Okay.
We keep it at Hughes Rehabilitation on Highland Street in West Hartford. And we have drivers that we've trained because it's a motorized bicycle. And we take elderly people for rides all over town.
And people rent it? Is that how it
No,
works?
no, it's free.
Free?
We take them around for free. Our pilots do it for free. They have to go through a training session. We have insurance.
Okay.
And we're actually thinking about getting a couple more for some other retirement communities as well. It's just the idea of getting people out of there getting wind in their hair, right? Just, because there's high levels of depression in these facilities because they never get out.
Right.
When you get them out and you take them on this little bicycle and they're riding around town, you can see them smiling.
And people volunteer to do it, right?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I would do that. Sounds like tons of great exercise.
We're always looking for pilots. We have a bunch of them, but we could always use more. And
I'm going to follow up with you. I really want to
do
that.
All right. Well, you're on.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I want to make sure we have time to talk about North Main Street.
Sure.
Right? Because a lot of people are, have a lot of different opinions about it, especially if you live on North Main Street. I remember knocking on doors 2 years ago, and it was one house would be, you gotta shrink it and you gotta put in bike lanes. Another house the next one would be, no, don't, because they'll be waiting in traffic for 6 hours just to turn onto North Main. So where are you on that, and what are your priorities in terms of ensuring that whatever happens is safe for cyclists?
A study was performed by CROG a few years ago, and it was a study that cost about $350,000. And their conclusion was that North Main Street has a problem. The people travel too fast, they weave too much. The accident level, there are 90 accidents a year between Bishop's Corner and West Hartford Center on North Main Street.
It's about one every 4 days, right?
About one every 4 days, exactly. And this type of road diet or road calming has been used all over the country, and with great success. They even did one down on Burnside Avenue in East Hartford. There's one in Arlington, Virginia that has gotten accolades. Our hope was, in some towns what they do is it's paint. It's not moving curbs. It's really just painting the existing lines black and then painting the new lines white.
Right.
And what it shows is that it slows down traffic. It does increase a little bit your ride between Bishop's Corner and West Hartford Center, but only by a couple minutes. Okay. And the concern that the town has, and I get it, is that they're concerned that if we do North Main Street and road calm it and slow it down, that people are going to go to other streets and overburden those streets.
Mountain Road, maybe.
Mountain or Trout Brook is the one I think they're most concerned about, because it's a pretty fast, weavy road. The good news is we're going to be able to show that hopefully that won't happen, because the town is redoing the bridge in front of the American School for the Deaf, or just north of the American School for the Deaf. So that's going to reduce Main Street to 2 lanes. And it's going to presumably cause people either to continue going down Main Street or to go elsewhere.
So it's kind of a pilot program.
It's like a pilot that was unintentional, but
right.
It certainly beats, because everything else is speculation, right?
Yeah.
The CROG people can tell you they think this is going to happen, but unless you actually do it, you don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's going to happen, I think, in the spring. The town has just gotten money, I think, through bonding of some sort, and the construction, if it gets bid on, is supposed to start, I think, in the spring of 19.
Great. Okay.
So we'll know, and we think it's a great thing for town. And, we originally started this as a bicycle project because we thought it would be great. We can't bike on North Main Street because it's just too dangerous for us.
Shoulder. Right?
It's hard to walk because the aprons are so tiny. But now we don't look at it as a bicycle thing. Certainly we hope that there are 5-foot bike lanes on either side, but it's really a safety thing. And the people that live on Main Street that we have talked to overwhelmingly have supported it. Gotcha. And they, property values are one thing too. Their feeling is that if we slow it down and road calm it and beautify it, their properties are going to come up in value.
Yeah, makes sense. And there's some other bike lanes, right, around town that you were telling me about earlier. That people
there are.
We just
the town helped us implement what's called neighborhood bike routes. So a lot of people have called up the town and said, "What are these signs that are showing up everywhere?" Right? They thought they were evacuation routes, but what they did is we designed through the Bicycle Advisory Committee 3 routes: a north route, a central route, and a south route. Each of them is between 5 and 7 miles, and they're safe bike routes that families can ride on with their children. They're not bike lanes themselves, but they're signed, and so every turn has an arrow, and typically after each turn there's a validating arrow to make you understand that you took the right turn.
Oh, neat.
They're really nice. They don't go on any main roads. They have to cross a couple of main roads, but they do it primarily at traffic lights. And they're being used. They're being used a lot. So the north route is around Hall High School. It's a big circle. The central route is around Fern Park, a big circle. And the southern route is down near Beachland Park, a big circle around that as well.
Gotcha. So there's a lot of positive things happening.
A lot of good stuff.
Why does this matter in terms of quality of life? I mean, how does it all fit together? Because I think you and I would probably agree that it's not just, biking is nice, right? But that it does impact quality of life, and probably even beyond that, our economy too, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, people nationwide and even worldwide are looking for a walkable, bikeable community. And I'll give you something that happened recently. I have 3 sons, all of whom have moved out of the area. I would love them to want to come back here.
Right.
So I was telling my oldest son who lives in New York City about all these things that I've just told you about,
Sure.
and he said, I wonder if there's any job opportunities in my area, in the West Hartford community. And it got him thinking, this has become a much more progressive community that cares about pedestrian rights and cycling routes and things like that, and Lime Bike and such. And if we can get the kids to come back and want to work here and increase our economy that way, and hopefully increase our real estate market sales, then we've done a good thing.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, if you compare to New York City, I mean, you can afford to buy a house here, right? Not everybody, but I mean, it's certainly more affordable than New York City.
Right.
Right. When it comes to the real estate market. So as a dad, I mean, you must have just been so happy. You think, oh my gosh, I might get him back. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I never thought I would hear those words come out of his mouth. So that's a positive thing. And now with what's going on at the UConn campus, if that actually goes through, that whole tech hub could also bring a lot of kids back.
Right.
When I told him there's a group that's doing blockchain technology and Bitcoin and things like that, he was like, really? In West Hartford?
Right.
So that's a good thing. We've won a lot of accolades in town. We've done a lot of great things in town. Not me, but we, the town.
Sure.
And these are just some things making it bikeable and walkable and technology related that I think is really good for the future of our town.
So as a policymaker, state policymaker, I'm always trying to learn, and because we're a citizen legislature, as we say, right? So we all have other things, and we come to the table, and we should be open-minded about what we don't know. So what can we do better? What do you think the state, and it doesn't necessarily just need to be at the state level, but what can policymakers do better to support all the great things that you're doing?
That's a really great question. What we're talking about having done was all within the town of West Hartford. What needs to be done is it really needs to be regional. People need to be able to get from Simsbury to West Hartford to Hartford, whether it's on a bike or some other multimodal vehicle, without feeling unsafe. So right now, when you come out of Hartford, they have bike lanes on most streets.
Right.
You get to Prospect Avenue where those streets intersect, and you see end of bike lane signs. And you get into West Hartford, and we don't have the connections. Right. So making it more regional is something I think that would be great and could be done on the state level. The other thing is, we've spoken many times with Commissioner Redeker, is that anytime the town or the state is redoing a road, they're narrowing the lane size, which slows down the traffic a little bit, but it also provides some safety for bicycles because it gives you a little bit of a bike lane.
Gotcha.
So that's statewide stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. I serve on the Planning and Development Committee, and we deal with how all 169 towns and cities deal with each other.
Right.
And so I'm going to keep that up here when
file that one away, right?
Starts in January. Yeah,
wonderful. Thank you.
So, any information as far as how to contact you or the organizations that you represent, if people are wondering about how to get more information?
Absolutely. The Bike West Hartford website is info@bikewesthartford.org.
Okay.
Or that's the email address. The website itself is bikewesthartford.org. On Main Street Safe, the email address is makemainsafe@gmail.com.
makemainsafe@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I'm sure this event will be a big success. It's the 3rd year, right, that it's occurred. And what do you see as its future?
We're hoping that our route gets bigger. We get 2,000 or 3,000 people each year. We're hoping that the numbers grow. Yep. And we're hoping always to get more vendors supporting it, restaurants and coffee shops and things like that, showing up on the road. So we're looking forward to it. It's a lot of fun, and particularly for the kids. The little kids, to be able to ride down the middle of Farmington Avenue is a lifetime memory. It really is.
Right. It's right down the middle. So I think it was 2 years ago I brought my 6-year-old Charlie there, and he actually bought a bike there because there's some places that are selling, and he's excited to go. So we'll be going on Sunday.
We're thrilled to have you. Thank you. Make sure you come up to our table and
I absolutely
say hello.
will. So Scott, thank you so much for all that you do for our community and for making it the kind of livable place that we all want to stay. And that's such an important issue that you mentioned of having our kids and grandkids, if they've moved away, come back.
Yeah.
And you play a role in that, so
Well,
thank you.
and so don't you, so thank you very much.
Absolutely. So that is Scott Franklin, local attorney, and really just all around wonderful contributor to our quality of life in West Hartford. That is going to do it for this edition of Derek in the District, the September edition. We'll be back in October with another one. In the meantime, if you have a constituent issue or you need help, please reach out to me. I'm the only slap around. I'm easy to find on Facebook. My email is Derek, D-E-R-E-K, slap@cga.cga.ct.gov. And feel free to reach out anytime. I promise I'll get right back to you. Thanks again. Have a wonderful month. We'll see you soon. Okay.